Hello. So, Cody, come. Cody, come. Good boy. So this is Cody. He's with me for a 4-week board and train. And today his two daddies got him his new bed. It's by K&H. Um, they got it off Chewy. I suggested it there. It's probably the cheapest price. And today what I'm going to do is go over how to teach a dog to go from us, away from us, to an area. So that's a bed, or we can call it place. So we're going to call it bed. We also want to have established markers already, a verbal marker or a clicker, so that it's fully charged, so he understands that when we give him direction and he gets there, we want to be able to mark it and then reinforce that behavior with our primary reinforcer, which is at this point for Cody, only being here a few days, is food. Some dogs, it could be praise, touch, or, and again, I'm sorry you can't really see me there, or it could be toys. So the 3 T's, I've talked about it before, 3 T's of reinforcement: treat, toy, touch, and praise, okay? So Cody right now, we're still actually working on charging the mark. I think he understands, he's very close to it, but anytime he does what I'm asking him to do, I'm going to use my marker, which is yes, and then reinforce it with a treat. Sometimes you may see me do a variable schedule on the reinforcement, meaning I won't give a treat right away, or for that repetition on what he worked on, because we've worked on it before. So like multiple sits, he's been working on sits since he was a puppy with his owners as well as me. So I'm not always going to give a reinforcer, but I'm going to mark it so that he knows. So the first thing I want to do is get him to want to work with me. So you can see he's laying down, he's got no energy, he's not in drive. So I'm just going to use my food. And again, I want to do this normally when he's hungry, so preferably before breakfast and before dinner. So we use his food, his drive for the food, to get the most out of our trainer. Okay? Cody, come on, buddy. Yeah, buddy, yeah. Come on. All right, yes. So just mark it, just get him to do a little stuff, a little bit of movement. Come on, sit. Yes, good boy, yeah. So now, again, we're not training. Like I've said before, we want our markers to be charged. You know, we always have a leash and collar on, so he can't check out, or if we have to use a little bit of leash pressure. The collar's not here for a correction, especially in the beginning of training. It's only to keep him from walking away when he hears something, smells something, sees something, as well as if we need to use a little bit of leash pressure to help him move forward if he's a little anxious or not comfortable or sure about it. So lure in. So I charge the mark. I typically go over how to hold it, as well as how to assure that we have the time frame we need in between our verbal marker or clicker, as well as the primary reinforcer, so that he clearly understands that that sound or word is a mark in time that says you did what I asked of you. The reinforcer is not coming till after. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So again, Cody, so we're going to use place. So before any movement, bed. So before any movement, and I'm not bending down, I'm straight up, I'm going to say bed, then lower him onto the bed, mark it, and then treat. Cody, let me do that again. Bed. So now I move, bring him to the bed. Yes. And I just released the treat. So I'm going to ask him to sit. Sit. Now the next step, the first step is, no, sit. So as you saw, I used my leash. Nope, sit. I use my leash, and I use the pressure to tell him stay on. I said, I put him back there, and I also said sit, and he went to lay down. So when I ask a dog to sit, he needs to sit. Nope, sit. And if I ask him to down, he downs. Nope, nope, sit. So if I have a dog that naturally goes down, what I'll do is I'll give him the command, that word, so that I can get him to do what I want, not what he wants. Down. Yes. So Cody is a very gentle soul. He's got just a kind-hearted, gentle soul. He's a big goober at times. And he's a nervous dog as well. So if you raise your voice to him or put too much pressure on him, he'll be nervous. So the first one was teaching a dog to go away from us to an area. I love using the elevated beds. And then the next step is teaching a dog to stay there. And for this instance, we're going to start using a stationary recall. What's a recall? I like to use the dog's name first, then use the command that we're going to use for the recall, which means for the dog to come to us. So this is very basic beginners. Stationary recall, he's on his bed. We make sure that he stays there. And then the next step is, once we have a base, maybe 20, 30 seconds, depending on what kind of dog he's gentle, he doesn't have high drive. Some dogs are crazy over the top drive, and it's a little harder to keep them to stay there. So you won't expect 30 seconds or 20 seconds when you first begin. But at this point, as you can see, he's nice and calm on the bed. So the next step I want to do is, for this exercise, I'm teaching the recall. Not about staying and leaving when I tell you to, but pretty much teaching the recall. So I'm going to say his name, Cody, then the word come. Now don't forget, it takes hundreds of repetitions for a dog to understand the verbal cue to come. What they primarily learn by is our body movement, as well as hand gestures or movement. So repetition, clarity, as well as consistency, we start to reduce the help that we use, meaning the body or the hand or blurring. And then what we can do is we slowly transfer over to the verbal cue, and then we don't have to move, we use hand gestures. So when I first start using the recall command, again, I say his name, and we're going to use come. So what I do is I'm going to move backwards, and I'm going to use a little bit of leash pressure if he doesn't come off when I say that. So I'm helping him. And again, remember, hundreds of repetitions before they pick up the cue. So what I'm doing is helping with the leash pressure and moving away. Natural, they call it prey drive, for the dog to follow me. So I'm at the end of my leash, so I've built up, I can walk away that much, he stays there that long, and now I'm going to say his name, the word come, and I'm going to move backwards. And once he's committed to me, that 6 feet, and I know he's coming to me directly, not going to like move off to the side, smell something, go someplace else, then I'll mark it. I only mark it when I know for sure he's coming to me, and then again I use the leash to make sure that he's coming to me, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to say, Cody, come, help him. Yes, I mark it, and I know I'm off camera, so I'll go right back, and then he gets his treat. Good boy. So I'll set it up again. Good boy. Cody, bed. Yes, I mark it when all 4 feet are on. I just released the treat now. Don't forget, there should be some time in between the marker and the reinforcer, which is the food. So I've read all different, some people say 0.5 seconds, some people say 1 second, some people say 1.5 seconds to initially charge the mark, where he clearly understands that the word is saying, I did right, there's value to that word or that sound. So he naturally goes into a down. So I didn't give him a command, so I'm not going to make sure he sits it down, so I'm going to let him sit there. And now I'll slowly, and again, it all depends on your dog, where Cody is such a gentle guy and he's not high drive, high energy, I don't have to work so hard on keeping him there for time. What I have to do is spend more time on making sure he understands, no matter how long it goes, that you have to stay there till you hear either the command break, which I'm starting to teach him there on a different exercise, or another command, like we say, Cody, come. So again, loose leash, you're not pulling on it, not tight, so that, even though I'm not yanking on it, that's leash pressure and he feels it. So I want a loose leash. I'm going to say his name, and then I'm going to say the word come. And you're probably wondering, why do I say his name? For me, I teach all of the commands, just the command, so a single word. Sit, down, heel, place, bed. But for the recall, where I feel it's probably one of the most important obedience commands for his safety as well as other people's safety and other animals' safety, I like to be clear that there's separation between that. Again, every trainer has their own philosophy. Somebody will probably say, that's wrong, don't do that, doesn't matter. That's my philosophy. It works well for me and the dogs that I train. So again, loose leash. I say his name first. Cody, come. A little bit of leash pressure. Yes, I mark him when I know he's here, and that's it. What I don't like to do, is talk a lot while we're training. I mean, good boy, good boy, good boy. I mean, you heard that earlier. I did say it a couple of times. But I want to be clear with what I'm saying to him while he's on a learning phase of learning the verbal cue. I want to make sure that there's not a lot of talk. So if I wanted to build up drive with him, yeah, I would probably do a little bit more talking and get him up. But his demeanor and his drive is perfect for teaching this. So again, I'll do it one more time. So to teach the go away command, you start off, and I don't think I mentioned this, of course you want to, remember, dogs learn in little pitches. So he's not going to learn from 10 feet out to stop, or 6 feet out to go to a bed. So we first start very close, maybe a foot away. And maybe it's a day or two, or 10 reps, or 15 reps. And then when we know he understands it, then we can slowly start adding distance. Same thing with distance for the recall away. So I'm not going to go from the end of this leash, which is 6 feet, and go out to 12 feet right away, where now he may start breaking his stationary down or sit or the bed or whatever it is. So instead of going 12 feet, I would add another leash and maybe add a foot or two and work that for a while until, again, remember, we need clarity for the dog, we need repetitions, and we need consistency for them to learn. So again, I'm a foot away, get his attention. I like to just use it, kissing sound or clicking sound. So you can see, it's typical. He's young, he's 8 months old. He's only been with me for a few days, so we don't really have a bond. He trusts me. But it's just who he is, his genetics. He's like, I'd rather smell the grass. So once I get his attention, then I'm gonna say, Cody, just wanna get his attention. Bed. So I'll lure him over. Yes, mark it when all 4 feet. And then, because who he is, I'm gonna say, down. Down. Yes, good boy. So I'm going to reward the down with a reinforcer, my treat. And now, like I said, to try to stay in camera view, if he's done well for today, and we've got 10 reps or so, maybe I break it up in 5 and 5 because it's supposed to be hot. So maybe I do, tomorrow I start at the end of the leash, and now I'll add another secondary leash or buy a long line, a 20 foot or 30 foot. And now I'll just add 2 feet from it. So I may add a foot, sending him to his bed, so you're slowly adding distance, and I may add another foot or 2 distance away from him for the recall. Cody, come! Yes! A little bit of leash pressure, and now I give a treat, and that's it. Good boy, all done with training. So I'm just going to put him back on the bed. Bed, down, yes. So hopefully that, I know that when we were working with your dog that, it was towards the end of the session, obviously being in a new environment, there were so many factors that he really didn't have the capability to pay attention. And what we were starting on was the same thing that I just did. So hopefully that clarifies any of the questions you may have. Hopefully that clarifies how to do it. I highly suggest you get one of the K&H beds, or whatever bed you like that's elevated. This is nice for the price. It's easy to put together. It's plastic. Then it's canvas around, and it's a mesh center where when you're working with them, it's comfortable. And there's a couple of colors you can choose so that maybe it matches better in your house. And it's just, for me, I believe it's clearer for the dog when you're teaching a dog to remain where you're asking them to, and you're working on how long he's going to stay there until you release him, or you teach him a new one, especially like the recall, a stationary recall. That's how I start. If I don't have a bed, then I work to make sure that he understands clearly that he's going to stay at a position I put him at. And what we do, again, the leash isn't for corrections. The leash is to keep him from checking out and moving around someplace other than being focused on you. It's also to help him or the dog to understand if they're kind of having some difficulty with, maybe they're too nervous to step up on time at that time because it's a brand new object. So you can either flip it over so it's flat on the ground and go a few reps first and then go over, or if he's really struggling and no matter what you've done, so you lure in a little bit of leash pressure to help him go. if you use a leash pressure, the last thing you want to do is stop, no matter how much he fights. Because if you allow him to shake and fight against it and not help him to continue to go against that unsureness that he has in his brain, then he's going to learn that I don't have to do this. So once you use leash pressure, just make sure you're committed to making sure to help him to go wherever you're trying to get the dog to go. Forward, backwards, whatever. That'll be later on in another lesson. We'll talk about leash pressure. Hopefully that answers your questions. If you have any, please add your question down below, or text me if you have my phone number, okay? Thank you for watching my video, and please subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Say bye to Cody. Bye, Cody. Bye, bud.